Wrestling Twitter is for the basement dwellers and the neckbeards, and I said what I said. I'm kidding. Kind of, because, that's kind of true, but we don't want to lump everybody into one thing. Hi, guys. What's going on? It's been a minute. I have some things that I want to talk about, and so we're going to talk about them. I joined Wrestling Twitter months ago. I don't remember when it was, but I know that I avoided it for a very long time. Everyone always told me that it was a cesspool. It was toxic. It was full of the worst kinds of people, the worst kinds of wrestling fans. And every wrestling podcast that I listened to, any radio show, any actual person within the business that was a wrestler had nothing but terrible things to say about Wrestling Twitter and the things that people say on Wrestling Twitter. If you want to be the know-it-all person that tells me it is not Twitter anymore and you would like to call it X, I understand that I cannot win either way, because if I call it Wrestling Twitter, you're going to tell me that it is Wrestling X, and if I call it Wrestling X, you're going to tell me that nobody calls me that, it's Wrestling Twitter. So whatever the hell you want to call it, we'll call it that. The place where the dweebs converge. And I can say the dweebs because I am one of those dweebs. I have joined the Wrestling Twitter. I am there. I read all of the shenanigans. I see all of the things that happen. And in my time there, I have made some observations. And I would like to discuss one of those observations because there are plenty. Every few weeks, every few months, it seems like something occurs that really kind of just grabs the wrestling community by the throat, and they all want to talk about it. They all want to, get their opinions, their takes, their 2 cents in on that particular thing that's popular. And it could show itself in a variety of ways. It could be an opinion. It could be a specific buzzword. It could be, the most ridiculous take you've ever heard in your life. I don't really contribute to these conversations. I observe them and I think, wow, that's stupid. And then I move on. The last month, however, there has been one that I have never heard before in my entire life. Okay, maybe not my entire life, but within the wrestling community, I cannot say that I remember hearing anyone talk about this specific thing. We're talking about the word aura. I have a running joke in my streams that whenever Cody Rhodes cuts a promo, I have to pull out a dictionary because he uses a lot of big words. So aura very much feels like a Cody Rhodes word. I don't know where it originated. I don't know who started it. The only thing that I can think of when I think about it and what pops into my head is that they were talking about Solo Sikoa. That was the first of it I saw. People saying Solo Sikoa has no aura. Okay. So before I dive into it, I gotta look up the definition of aura, like when I'm listening to a Cody Rhodes promo. So I'm on the Merriam-Webster. We're on the Merriam-Webster dictionary here, and I'm gonna read. There's a lot of definitions. It is aura. A-U-R-A, noun. A distinctive atmosphere surrounding a given source. A subtle sensory stimulus. An energy field that is held to emanate from a living being. A luminous radiation. So you get the idea. There are all kinds of different definitions of it. There's all kinds of examples, but it's basically an energy radiating from someone. Radiating? Why did I say it like that? But someone shining off cool shit. I don't know why suddenly we are enamored with auras, but we are talking about auras. So yes, the first I heard of that was Solo Sikoa, because for some reason, all of a sudden we don't like Solo and he has no aura. I don't concern myself with takes, really. It's a point of contention with me. I understand. So you know what I did? I went on the Wrestling Twitter. And I asked you guys, when I say the word aura, because that's the buzzword of the month, what comes to mind? What do you think of? As you can imagine, in the wrestling community, there are a lot of different answers. And honestly, I really enjoyed reading all of them. Everyone had actually good answers and giving me what their actual good takes are. I'm trying not to be biased here, but I feel like Kate gave a funny one. So Kate said, John Moxley, Oba Femi, and Bianca Belair, not yeeting or someone holding a belt with fireworks in back of them. That's just me, though. I feel like it's a fair take. I understand. Now, I love me some fireworks, and I love me a yeet, and I love everything that goes into an exciting, cool entrance. But when we're talking about the actual emanation of an aura, those are not the things that make it happen. Those are accessories. Those are entrance enhancers. Those are aura enhancers. The aura itself, like we read in the definition, emanates from you. I hope I'm using the word emanate right. Cody Rhodes, please tell me that's right or not. There's an overwhelming answer of one particular person, so I'm gonna read one that kind of gives a good definition. Colin Clark, aura is a feeling that resonates. It's unexplainable by words and can only be felt by the audience. You can see it almost emanating, see, I'm using the word right, from a TV, but it's best seen and felt in person, and it strikes a chord to the core of a person. Best example I've seen in person is, and they give a gif of The Undertaker. The Undertaker was an example that was given a lot, and I agree. While The Undertaker had a flashy entrance and he also had a really cool gimmick, The Undertaker just made you feel something. His presence was larger than life. Anytime he was in the ring, you could just feel the buzz off of him. You could think of so many different matches that he was involved in that are regarded as some of the greatest of all time. I think a lot of that, when it comes to The Undertaker, comes from just his dedication to his craft, to what he did. I mean, he was the dead man for the better part of 30 plus years. When someone is engrossed in what they're doing, they love what they're doing, when they are the character, I think it shows in more ways than one. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people are saying Undertaker as their answer. Now, when I asked this question, I didn't expect everyone to just give me like names of wrestlers or matches. Some people gave me, definitions, because all I said was just tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I say aura in regards to pro wrestling. So someone actually gave me a cool definition. Neo Psychos 54 says, when I think of aura in relation to pro wrestling, the first thing that comes to mind is the presence and charisma of a wrestler. It's that intangible quality that makes a wrestler stand out and captivate the audience, both in the ring and beyond. And I think that personifies it really great, because I could go through this entire list and show you that it is just a lot of the same names over and over. There is a lot of Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a lot of Shawn Michaels, HBK. There's a lot of The Undertaker. And there's a lot of Roman Reigns. If somebody would have told me in 2015, 2016, that Roman Reigns was going to be the tribal chief and that people were going to chant for him to be back, or that he would be involved in one of the greatest WrestleMania main events and storylines of all time, I would not have believed you. It still blows my mind that that is where we are at and where we have gotten, and that Roman Reigns absolutely does radiate this sense of integrity, importance, swagger, confidence. There was a point in time when he seemed to be the least charismatic of those that were in the Shield. And he doesn't even have to say that much. That's the thing. He doesn't even have to speak a lot of words to emanate it. I'm going to keep using the word emanate. And going back to what Kate said, I feel like the entrance being an enhancer and an accessory to an aura is a perfect example of Roman Reigns. It's not super flashy. He gets his little bit of pyro. His song, just, you feel it. You feel it when he comes out. I don't know if you've ever been present for a Roman Reigns entrance, but at the time that I experienced it, I did not acknowledge the tribal chief. I do now because we need him back. But at the time, I did not acknowledge the tribal chief. So I'm, boo, doing all that shit. And down he comes, and it's still like, it's pretty cool. Like, it's still the tribal chief. Shake actually put it in really good words when it comes to Roman Reigns as well. He said, Roman's ability to control an entire arena without saying a word, using body language as his communication at times. And when he does something, we respond. I think that's it. That nails it on the head right there. We also have a lot of love for someone I haven't mentioned yet, but that is involved with Roman Reigns and some of the most popular things that are going on right now, but The Rock. All jokes aside, I myself am 31 years old. I grew up with The Rock. When The Rock comes out, I don't care what is going on, I'm excited. If you happen to see me or find out who I am from the WrestleMania documentary, you'll know that I had a good pop when The Rock came out. I was excited to see what was going to happen initially between him and Roman Reigns and everything that transpired after that. PHX says, The Rock's new final boss entrance. I agree with that entirely. When that entrance happened, and the evolution of it as time went on, it's another perfect example of the entrance being an enhancer, it being an accessory, because that was cool. The Rock isn't making it up. I mean, when he's tapping his arm and he's like, oh, goosebumps. Because literally, yes, a lot of the time I would get the goosebumps too. And with The Rock, it's like a combination of things. It's not only the fact that it's The Rock and he comes out and he has energy and he's well spoken and he's good at making people feel things. For those of us that have memory of him or know history of him or were invested in him when he was first starting out, he's a legend, very much like The Undertaker. You're invested in him. And so that almost, it amplifies the aura, because not only is what he doing amazing, but you're personally invested in it, and that just heightens it. I'm really scrolling and I'm trying to find one that is my answer. I found one. Ethan said it. Emphatic rage. I found one. Oh, okay. There's a few more. Thomas Walsh. Okay. I'm seeing them now. I wasn't at first, and I was really, really surprised by it. So my answer definitely would be Bray Wyatt. I am very open and honest about my journey within pro wrestling. It gets me in hot water and in trouble sometimes, but I was not a regular viewer for quite a few years. I watched it when I was a kid. I fell off, got back into it around 2016, basically. Now, it's something I looked back on. It's something I know the history of now, but I did not get to watch the Wyatt family in real time. I just missed it. So for the longest time, I didn't quite understand what the Bray Wyatt hype was all about. It really took me educating myself and looking at the history for me to really appreciate it. I myself was a really big fan of Luke Harper. I was a really big fan of Brody Lee when he made the jump to AEW. I was there for Eric Rowan, in his last run in WWE as well, and the animatronic spider. Been there for all of that. And as I looked back, I understood what people were talking about once the Firefly Funhouse was introduced. And I was unsure at first. I was very, very much unsure, because I've been pretty outspoken about the fact that sometimes, more supernatural-esque things don't really resonate with me personally. I like to have fun. I definitely like to be, engrossed in the storylines and the characters and all of that, whatever you want to call kayfabe, you want to use, words. That's the space I like to be in. I don't like to really, critique moves and shit of stuff that I don't do personally. Watching all of that evolve, watching eventually, the Firefly Funhouse match, watching the feud between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, watching what happened, with Alexa Bliss involved in everything and the creativity, and knowing that came from the mind of him. He resonated in aura, and I didn't, even know that much about him. I think that speaks volumes to what he has. In that same breath, I see a few people saying it as well. The Wyatt Six. I've been a Bo Dallas fan. I've been excited to see where they were going to go with all of this. I've been invested in them introducing every character. And even though we don't know a lot about them just yet, I know that can be a point of contention with some people talking about how, oh, we need to get on with it. Oh, we want them to be in a match, because we can't be patient about anything. I think it's telling that with the minimal amount of information we know, that we have been as invested as we are. And I think the biggest reason for that when it comes to the Wyatt Six is just they do have a different kind of presentation, a different energy. They're not necessarily trying to be larger than life. They are just letting you know that they have a purpose and that there's a reason they're doing what they're doing. Anytime a Wyatt Six segment comes up, when they actually did their debut, any of the teasers, currently the VHS tapes that they're doing, anytime that they're going after Chad Gable in the ring and all the smoke machines are going off, I am shutting up, for one, which is hard to make me do, and I'm paying attention. And I think that speaks volumes to their aura. There's two more I'm going to bring up really quickly because not a lot of people said them, but I feel like the internet might have my head if I don't at least bring them up briefly. John Cena is absolutely one. And the cool thing about a lot of these people we're discussing don't have a lot in common with each other. They definitely each had their own flair, their own way that they did things that makes their particular aura unique. I was getting ready to say, I don't think anyone can, argue the fact, but everyone can argue about anything. But John Cena is arguably one of the best talkers in the business. And he's so good at working with the audience and swerving what he's saying and kind of riding the wave, per se, as far as the energy in the room. I think that makes him very special. And when he enters, you feel it from the crowd, especially now. I think we definitely have a better appreciation for John Cena than we did in the past. Erica said CM Punk returning to WWE. And I have to agree with that. When that happened, I said for months that it wasn't happening because I never say never, but it was like, okay, it was one of those deals where everyone's saying, oh, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. And I was to the point where I just was tired of speculating. And if it was going to happen, okay. And if it wasn't, okay. I was just going to figure it out once we got there. I am notorious for not popping to CM Punk returning the way that a lot of people did. I had a lot of explanations for that at the time. It got me in a little bit of hot water, but I will tell you it was one of the best things to happen to me because it got me noticed in a way that I can't really tell you about just yet. But it was me. It was authentically me. And despite me not jumping up and down and screaming and having a reaction to CM Punk like a lot of people did, you could feel how important that was. And my reaction genuinely was just a bit of paralysis. It was a bit of paralysis of not believing that that's what was happening because the moment felt so huge. I knew that that was a huge deal. I was watching AEW when CM Punk debuted and I didn't think that that was happening. I thought that that was absolutely insane because I didn't think that CM Punk was going to come back to wrestling. And while I wasn't actively, regularly watching wrestling in 2011, 2012, the entire summer of Punk, all of those kinds of things, I still love the sport. I still know what's happening. And I know how big of a deal CM Punk is and how much he means to the business. I know people can argue about that too. But regardless, that was an important moment. It really, really was. Just the energy in the room, the things that happened. I was kind of riding a high the few days afterwards because I couldn't believe that that was what was happening. And it felt like such a crazy turning point in wrestling. And it has proved to be so true. I can't put into words how things have snowballed for not only me, but just what's happened in pro wrestling since then. Those are my thoughts about hearing the word aura this entire month. I know I really didn't get into Solo Sikoa, but I have another video coming out where we're going to kind of talk about that. I would love to know what you think of auras, or if you think auras are full of shit, or who you think is the greatest of all time when it comes to an aura, or something off the wall that we didn't even talk about. I'd love to know in the comments. Please let me know. If you are here and are still listening, I did, appear in the WrestleMania documentary. I think I'm going to make a separate video about that and kind of talk about it, but I know I'm inconsistent as hell, but I love you all very much and I can do more than reaction content. I promise you. Okay, bye.